live. Sounds good. Hi, welcome. We're officially live. I hope everyone's having a wonderful week. It is Thursday. Normally I stream on Monday, but we're here. I had to reschedule, and that was on my behalf, on my fault. So it was my apologies to our guest tonight, but she could make it. We rescheduled. It's Thursday. We're here, and I'm really excited. I hope everyone's having a great week. Welcome to my Mayhem Streamcast. I am your host, DJ, of tonight's conversation. I really appreciate everyone that joins in the chat. Drop some love. We're going to support each other and we're going to support our guest. She's got an amazing story and I cannot wait. So, of course, everyone get comfortable. Let's get ready for the episode. We're always here today on a Thursday, but we're still here to share a powerful story. We want to destigmatize and normalize mental health, disability, and trauma. This is a place where we share our mayhem. We want to create opportunities to connect, and we want to be a voice to break stigmas as well. I always add my trigger warning. We want to encourage discretion as we discuss some things that may be difficult for individuals and can be mature. And of course, these are our opinions. I'm going to add that in there. So thank you to StreamYard for powering my show live. Chat, we will get to you in a second. I always like to bring out the guests to welcome the chat. So I hope everyone's doing great. If you're new here, please follow me on LinkedIn or Twitch TV. I always appreciate the support on Twitch, and throw me a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube, and make sure you're subscribed. So wherever you're checking in from, I always appreciate the support, and thank you for being here tonight. I'm excited to be live on a Thursday. It's not my normal, but this is rescheduled from Monday, June 7th, and we were celebrating National Cancer Survivor Day. That was on Sunday, June 6th. So for me, it's really important that we maintain this episode and highlight my guest and how important it is to talk about this today. So she's a 2-time breast cancer survivor. She's USAA Today, a best-selling romance author, and I cannot wait to talk about that. And she's also a financial advisor. So she's just got amazing skills and an amazing person. I'm really excited to talk to her. Again, we're here to celebrate her life, recognize her, and recognition of National Cancer Survivor Day. That was Sunday, 6/6. So to bring awareness and celebrate her life and everything that comes after it. She has a really strong drive to make a positive difference, and she wrote Not Your Usual Boob, The Good, Bad, and Wonky of Breast Cancer. So she describes it as funny and sarcastic. Who doesn't love a little sarcasm? It's very formative and it's really real. So we're going to talk about that, preparing your mindset and how to cope better with the diagnosis and treatment of cancer. She writes other romance novels that we said we're going to talk about, Emotional Ride on Heated Sheets. I want to know more about that. And she's here to empower individuals and businesses and educate on financial security. So we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and bring her out. Let's see how I can do this. There she is. Yay.
Hello.
Mary Karen Meredith. Welcome.
Hello. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much. This is a complete pleasure. I'm honored. So it's been just wonderful hearing you talk about this and Cancer Survivor Day. So thanks for making this happen.
Absolutely. I know since we met a couple months ago and we chatted, I was like, oh, we had such a instant bond and we just got along on so many levels. And I just knew how important it was for me and, what I represent and to highlight you and your story. So let's get to the chat and let's warm up that way. We're on Twitch and we're on YouTube and we're on LinkedIn. So let's see.
Awesome.
Yeah, Adam's here.
Well, hello, everybody.
Stopping by. I know Kenneth is here. Katie J, thank you.
Oh, I love that. Savor the flavor.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta meet Katie J. He's all about savor the flavor. Hello and good night. Yes, Olga, thank you. Hi, Gabe. Hi, how are you? Thanks for making it and stopping by. I'm really excited. Oh, Olga's in Ecuador, so thank you. Gracias.
Nice.
Yes. Oh.
Hey, you have fans that love you, so this is super cool.
Yeah, I appreciate
hello.
And it's one of those things like you can't always support everyone all the time.
Yeah.
So anytime anybody can stop by and support, it's really appreciated. So
Oh, yeah.
Daniel, that's for you. Me and Daniel have a really good friendship, and I really enjoy supporting him. So it's nice to see when they support you, right? When you're doing things like this and really taking on these types of conversations. They're not the easiest.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But we're here to make it fun, and we're here to just make it informative and just kind of let, share and educate, right?
Love it. Yep.
So I knew it. We were going to have a great conversation. So I gave my own introduction of you, but feel free to, however you want to go ahead and open up with your intro. And
Goodness.
I know it's a loaded question, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I love it. Like you said, I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And, my husband always said that I've lived with breast cancer my whole life. And that's because my mom passed away from breast cancer when I was 7. She got diagnosed at 36, passed away at 39. So the very interesting, uncomfortable thing number-wise that happened was I was diagnosed at 39, and that year both of my kids happened to be 7. So it was just a coincidence that was not comfortable. And, with her passing at 39, I have 3 older brothers, and each one of them used 39 as a time marker of like releasing that sigh of, okay, I'm in the clear. I made it. And every year, my oldest turned 39, my oldest brother, and he's like, I made it. The second brother, I made it. The third brother, I made it. And then 2 days before my 40th birthday is when I got my diagnosis. And I'm not kidding. I was like looking up the sky, at whatever higher power being, the universe, whatever it is for you. I was looking at them and I was like, are you kidding me? 2 more days. You couldn't wait 2 more days just to let it not be such a meaningful number,
Right. Wow. What a way to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Good way to start. But we are so excited celebrating your life. I mean,
Thank you.
Yes, and your family and your children and your husband and your siblings, your brothers. So I mean, it's just truly, truly special, and just I'm so excited that you can share and everything that you're doing with life after. I mean,
Yes.
do you want to talk a little bit about what that was like going through the breast cancer, and then we'll get more into the like happier, exciting stuff that you're doing currently?
Absolutely. So, when I got that first diagnosis, we had just moved outside of DC. And so it was a brand new area. We had only been here a few months. So it was very interesting navigating something like that in a brand new place. And I even remember it was December of 2014 that I had noticed an indentation on the left side. And so I knew that I needed to get it checked because with the history with my mom, all the education I already had about breast cancer, I knew that that wasn't a good sign. But it was right at Christmas. So I was determined to get through the holidays, let that be amazing and wonderful memories for my children. And then as soon as they got back to school that first week, I started making phone calls. And I remember at first it was so stressful because I knew it was something. And I couldn't find a doctor's office that took my insurance, right? Because like I just had moved here. And so that was just bad timing. Like not only did I need to go get this checked, but now I had to go find someone that even took our insurance. So once I got
a whole other conversation.
Yes.
Battle. We'll talk about that.
I wasn't expecting it. And so I just remember there was one call where it was like the 4th person who said, sorry, we don't take that, where it was everything I could do to hold my tears back. And I told her, and I said, I have to find someone because I know this is something. So then I found a place, was able to go. And I will tell you that when I first got there, she was trying to feel for it, excuse me, and she couldn't feel anything. And so I told her, I'm like, I can feel it. I said, maybe, if I lay down, I think you can feel it better. So I lay down and she felt around for it. And she's like, I think I can feel it. Why don't we'll send you for a mammogram just in case. And I'm like, yes, just in case, So went 25 films, could see absolutely nothing. And I have had dense fibrous tissue for my breast. So 25 films, they couldn't see anything. They would want to send me home. And I told them, I'm like, I can feel something. I'm not surprised you can't see anything. It's so, webbing, so much webbing, you can't see through it. So again, they said, okay, well, just to be on the safe side, we'll send you for an ultrasound. I go in for the ultrasound, and the techs are trained not to respond, right? They want to get the pictures and then let the radiologist come in and give the reports, the reading to the patient. Well, this tech happened to be new. And as soon as she put the gel and the ultrasound, head to the area on my breast, she was, and so I knew, like, her gasp, just, yes, her reaction, I was like, oh, this is not good. And so then from there, they diagnosed me with, oh goodness, it was invasive ductal carcinoma. So, and on the left side. However, I caught it before it went to the lymph node, which I feel is one of the big reasons I was able, to get through like I have, because I do find that a lot of my friends who have breast cancer where it has spread to the lymph nodes, they tend to have a lot more difficulties, getting through it. So that was the first time.
Wow. You touched on something really important just briefly, and it's something I think we should definitely is about examining your breast and making sure you take care
Yes.
of yourself. That's where you
Yes.
need to know for yourself, not just expect that when you go for your annual to see your doctor.
And it goes for men and women. You guys know your body. It's not taboo. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing. Know it. Get to know it really well for the men, for the women, right?
Know your body. Yes.
Know your breasts, know your chest. Men, know your testicles. I mean, everywhere. Everybody needs to know their body, because when you know it really well and you're comfortable with yourself, then as soon as you notice something is off, something's out of place, you go get it checked. You're worth the time. It might seem like an inconvenience, but I'm telling you that for a lot of these things, early detection can be a game changer. And if you keep putting it off, or you think you're being an imposition, or you just don't have the time, no, 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 no. You are all worth it. Know your body. And if there's something that's different, just go have it checked. I mean, I will echo that.
Tell them, you feel something's wrong. You need more.
Yes. And when they come, and if they come back and say, you know what, everything's fine, it looks fine. If you really don't think it is, push for another test, push for a second opinion, ask somebody else, to come in and look, ask what other ways they could give you, like as a double check. We have to be our own advocates, because doctors see so many patients. It's not that they don't want to help, but if, it looks like something that just came in before and they don't have any other reason to think it's not, other than you're a brand new patient. But I think sometimes in that kind of situation, they see a lot of similar things. So it might be easy to give you a clean, slate of health and send you home. And I'm just saying that if it's really different for you, just push. Ask the doctors to look some more. Tell them that you want more testing.
So I have two thoughts.
Yeah.
One, as a person, as a human, when the doctor tells you, no, it looks fine, seems like it's okay, it's comforting to accept that very quickly, number one. And it's hard to say, well, honestly, I think something's really wrong, right? It's easier to accept that, oh, you're fine, because the physician dismissed it as such. And then the other thing was, again, like accepting it, like, wow, okay, that can be really difficult, and society doesn't make it easy. So is that something that I really always like to talk about, is how we can help individuals going through cancer while they're trying to maintain their normal lives, their environments, their families, their jobs, their hobbies. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so many of us were raised that physicians are the authority. So when they say something, we don't want to push back. And I'm happy to say that more than not, doctors will respect when you have further questions. Every now and then you might come across a doctor who seems offended that you're questioning them. And honestly, and if that's the case, they may just not be a good fit for you, because in the end, you really being comfortable with the information you're given is more important than their ego in that moment. And but like I said, I'm happy to say that most of the doctors that I've, worked with have been very open to, all right, just in case, let's go check a little further. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad that they did.
Yeah, you do need that support from your medical team. You do need that support
You
from your
do.
support system.
And
You want to be surrounded by comforting, informative, that really have your interest as you're going through this. Your best interest at heart as you're going through.
absolutely. And I think that this conversation is great because you want all of that, and just to give everybody permission to ask questions and to push and to advocate for yourself. Like, you're allowed, we want you to. So if there's, sometimes some of us just need to be told it's okay to do that, especially if for whatever reason, we have a past where we were told maybe it wasn't. So DJ and I are saying you are absolutely worth it. You can ask those questions. You can push for a second look. Love yourself. You are worth it.
Yeah, we talked about, and I think we were having a phone call, and I think we touched a little about that, making sure that that was something we did discuss. And just, I know your support systems and your self advocacy, and saying it's okay. I don't have to have. I'm not feeling good today. I'm not strong today.
Yes.
Today, it's just everything's all wrong, and it's. What did you say? You want to touch back up on that in that conversation I know that we were having? I thought
Yeah.
that was so critical.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And for anyone out there who have gone through other kinds of cancer, I'm sure that they see it there too. But one of the unexpected things I found with breast cancer is women with breast cancer there is an expectation that you are going to be just fine and that you are strong, you're a warrior. And so there is a lot of pressure to put it out there that you are fine, that you're getting through, everything is very positive. You've got this, you're going to kick cancer's ass. And they want to see those pink boxing gloves or use warrior. And it's almost as if you show that you're having a bad day, or the medications are making you feel awful, or radiation really, really, is really hurting your skin. And if you show that, then are you not a warrior? Are you not this strong kick-ass woman? So there is this pressure, and you see it because if you go look out in the community, I'm on Facebook. Here I'm showing, I'm presenting to you guys as Mary Karen Meredith, but I write under MK Meredith. And so on Facebook, I'm there under MK Meredith. And I shared my whole journey with all of the amazing, wonderful, supportive people there. But if you know other women with breast cancer, most of the time you see a lot of really, really positive posts, and everybody's encouraging them. I do have some really strong friends out there that are really showing the raw, vulnerable, ugly cry, I'm hurting and scared side. But what I find is a lot of people only have so much bandwidth and attention span for that negative. And so because of that, it's always encouraged just to show the positive. But when people are going through this, they have to be able to show you both, because right, like, we need to be able to talk about it and be able to process it. So we want to have that survivor mentality of, yes, I am going to get through this. But I think it's also incredibly important to acknowledge that it is scary, and there are times you're not sure what's going to happen. You're going to fight like hell, but there's times you're just not positive, and really honoring yourself in that truth, so that you can believe yourself. Then when you say, I am going to work really hard to make it through, then it means something.
Yeah, it's important that we talked about that pressure, because I know that's just something that you don't need to be worrying about. You don't need to feel that way when you're going through all these other things, an array of emotions. And
Yeah. And one of the places I see it too is, I had hormone positive breast cancer, and I've had it twice, but I am now in the clear and doing really, really well. I have some friends who have metastatic breast cancer. So they're living with breast cancer, and for the rest of their life will be living with breast cancer. There is a lot less attention and cheerleading and awareness for the metastatic breast cancer side. Many of them feel like they're fighting alone. And I think one of the reasons is that same thing where, that idea that nobody wants to just see the negative all the time, or have to face that thing that is much harder, and that's living with something, versus being able to just be cured or just be a survivor. So a lot of times they'll call them thrivers, right? They have it and it's there, but they're finding their way through, and they're going to have good days and they're going to have really bad days, and they're going to feel really positive about things. And sometimes be scared. But I will tell you, the strongest people I have ever come across, to where they have this situation and they accept it, and they're going to make every moment count, as they're trying to live their life to the fullest. So just like with other cancers, I just think having open ear and, watching with both eyes, and if you know people going through it, reach out, because a lot of times they're not going to want to be an imposition. They're not going to want to be a bother. So when you do come across with somebody with breast cancer and, you ask them, hey, do you need anything? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say no. They're going to say, nope, I'm fine. And it's because I think a lot of us, it's hard to ask for help. And then when we're in it, we don't even know what to ask for. So if you are in that situation where you know someone, maybe if you kind of think of, okay, well, if they're constantly going to doctor's appointments, if they're not feeling well, what things do I know they have on their plate that might be difficult for them to handle? A lot of times food is taken care of. I mean, I know so many people who have done those, food trains where people are leaving food, and that's awesome. If they have kids, maybe they need help getting kids to sports. If they have a yard, maybe they need help with some yard care, lawn maintenance. And sometimes it's more of a, hey, I want to stop by and do this thing for you versus do you want me to? Because oftentimes, do you want me to? They're going to automatically say no. Even if on the inside, they're like, oh my God, that would be everything. I think people don't want to be a bother. And so they'll say no even when they need the help.
So see, again, that important, changing the language we use. How do we use compassionate language, supportive language when we communicate? Because you don't know if someone in the office is going through something medically like that. Or when someone's gone for a couple months, right, on medical leave, we don't know. So how do we change the language, and how do we create these spaces to show support to individuals? But yeah, I love the way you said that. So it's so important. I didn't think of the do you. No. Can I?
Can I? Right. When can I? And I'd like to.
I'd love to see you.
Yes.
And
there are some tricky situations, for example, my own husband, where when people were offering help too much, it made him feel overwhelmed. He didn't have the bandwidth to handle all of the help sometimes, because then he felt like he was going to have to explain to them what needed to be done. And, so sometimes it's like you were saying, when can I come do this? I'd like to come do this. But you tell me what would be the easiest way, or how would this help you the most, and then maybe you guys can find that middle ground. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Again, open language, inviting language.
Absolutely. And I know that, another thing we talked about is when you find out somebody, had an illness, I will tell you that most of the time, their first reaction is, oh, you got this. You got this. You're going to be fine. And when you're right in it, sometimes it feels really dismissive. And I know they don't mean it to be. But if you're scared that you don't know if you're going to be around the next year, just being told you're going to be fine, just letting everyone know, sometimes feels really dismissive, and it doesn't help. So I think just asking somebody, what can I do? Or I'm here with you, or this sucks. I am here with you. And it's not that, again, we don't want to encourage that positive talk, right? Because there's lots of studies that show like survivalist attitudes and personalities is one of a strong predictor of people being able to get through things, but it doesn't mean it's that positive toxicity where you're just pretending everything is okay, right? It's back to that acknowledging it's a tough situation and there are scary parts to it, but I'm going to do everything I can to make my way through. So I think that when you find out, it's kind of that similar way. Go ahead and acknowledge, I am so sorry that this is happening, or this really is a sucky situation, and then I am here with you. So as you're going, if there's something I can help with, I want to help.
I am here. Love
I
that.
am here, right?
Yeah, that is definitely supportive language and compassionate language. So,
Yeah,
and you can use that, getting comfortable with that language in so many different areas of your life really helps, right? So,
I agree. I agree.
yeah. So good. Okay, what are we moving on to next? You want to talk a little bit about, where do you want to go next? What boobs?
I would love to talk a little bit about the book. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's go. I'm
So
curious.
you had mentioned the Not Your Usual Boob, the Good, Bad, and Wonky of Breast Cancer, right?
Yeah.
And that is just along the lines of what we're talking about, and why I thought it's a good time to bring it up is the things that not everybody is comfortable, showing. And when somebody is going through any kind of treatment, medications, we are so blessed to have them, but there's no way to treat one part of the body. It's going to be very rare that it doesn't cause side effects somewhere else. So though there are these life-saving treatments, they often will cause at the same time, really uncomfortable side effects, whether it's fatigue, weight gain, joint pain. I mean, they're depending on what you're talking about, on and on and on, right? So I know that one of my things when I was going through this was the body image issues. I ended up having a double mastectomy and reconstruction with the first round of cancer. And then I was put on, I didn't have to do chemo, and I actually did not have to do chemo either time. And I feel really, really blessed about that. But at the same time, I also made decisions to be really aggressive with surgery so that I didn't. And then the other thing that helped me is for people who've been through there's something called an oncotype. And basically that number lets you know if the risk reward for chemo is going to be, swing one way or the other. And mine was only a 10, which means that it would be a bigger risk to do chemo than it would help. So I didn't have to do chemo, and that all because of it not going to the lymph nodes yet. So I was really lucky for that. And my husband would say you weren't lucky because he knows that I did breast self exams and was very aware all the time. And he is right about that. But I still feel that lucky in the way that it was close enough to the surface where I could feel it, or that it was pulling in on the skin, so that I definitely feel like there was some luck to that. But
you were ready, and
yes. But even without chemo, the medications caused a lot of side effects. And so with the first medication I was on, I gained 30 pounds in 2 months. And then after I got the second, the cancer came back. It was a recurrence. So even after the mastectomy, it was like one cell left behind started regrowing, or got triggered and was growing a tumor. So then they just cut that part out and they took my ovaries. And because I made so much hormone that it was just triggering it. And when that happened, I had to have radiation. And the radiation caused a contracture and encapsulation in the left breast. So on the cover of my book, you can see, one breast in one position, kind of a normal position, and then the other one is super high and in toward the center. And I'm not holding them like that. That's just me relaxed, and that's how far off they were. And the one that was encapsulated was just moving more and more in center wise. So I ended up getting what's called a deep flap, and it's amazing. And because if they would just take that out and let you replace the implant, the encapsulation would come back because that scar tissue is radiated. And so the chances are it would stay really hard. And it was hard like an apple. It was hard. And so what they did is they cut like a football size shape from my stomach, took the skin and the fat and all the vascularization, and then they went up into the left breast, cleaned out everything that was in there, and then put that stomach and fat and tissue up in there to form the breast under my skin. And then they did a microsurgery of the veins into the vein system of my sternum. And so on my right side, I'm just all implant. And on my left side, I am basically my stomach and part of an implant. But as you can imagine, with all the different scars and tubes and the effects of radiation on your skin and the weight gain, I did not recognize myself, not by how I looked and not by how I felt. It was like this thing happened to me that I didn't want. And now I was a stranger. And that was really hard.
Yeah, that's great. Good place to kind of pause and really think about, because again, on the show I like to bring awareness to mental health and traumas that you go through, right? Your body going through all that physically, emotionally. That's difficult for anyone that hasn't been through it, and I have not. So I couldn't imagine, but it's really important to just always understand that there's this like emotional component constantly that you have to manage. And that goes back to being strong and being, but as your body is being consumed and destroyed and, just, and at the same time, it's for your own health and trying to repair it. It's just, it can be so confusing and overwhelming. And you kind of just lose track of what reality can be.
I agree. And because you always have in the back of your mind, I need to just be grateful that I'm here. But then it's with the caveat that, okay, but I'm not really me. At least there's times you feel like that. And it was interesting because when I first got diagnosed, I was given all these books. You get these free books from the hospital, and I was reading them, and they were making everything worse. They were used really aggressive language like chop and cut. And there's a book I read that told me my husband was going to divorce me because the divorce rate with breast cancer is so high. And he came walking into the room and I was crying, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?" And I'm like, "This book says you're going to divorce me." And he came over, took the book out of my hand, grabbed the other books that were on my bedside table. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "These are going in recycling." He goes, "You're a writer. You need to go write the book that's going to help you." And that is where it was like the idea of that and all of my internal struggle with myself on my body image, and do I still have the same worth even though I don't look the way I did? And I know, like, intellectually we say, well, hell yeah, you do. But then when you're looking at a stranger in your mirror, you don't necessarily feel it. And we know with social media and all the judgment of body types and everything else, we can say it, but we don't all always feel it all the time. And I felt like I had so little control over all that was going on that that's why, it was those reasons that I ended up writing Not Your Usual Boob. And for anyone who ever looks at the cover, there's no photoshopping at all. It is no filter, is so true. And I had even had one person who was considering helping me with my cover say, "You know what, you should Photoshop it and just make yourself look as badass as possible." And I know for her, in her mind, she was thinking it would lend me strength. But I was thinking about it, and I was talking to a friend, and they were like, "Well, wait a minute, why are you writing this book?" And I said, "Because I want women to understand that they are still, and men, that, it's on the back cover of my book. You are still you, I am still me." She goes, "Well, then you know what you need to do." So it was purposefully showing the love handles and how completely wonky my breasts were. And, things that people can't see is how achy my joints were and how much fatigue I had. And, there's, oh my goodness, acne,
Components to it.
so many things. Yeah. So that's why. So Not Your Usual Boob it's all about kind of bringing awareness to some of the different things that can happen when you have an illness. And then with the acknowledgement that we're all different and different things will speak to us, offering up a few suggestions for like coping skills and things, ways to armor yourself to get through it. And I say it time and time again that what works for me might not work for somebody else, but at least if you know that these are some of the things that can happen, then you can look ahead and make sure you have your support group and that you can figure out for yourself what would help. And that way, when they happen, when things happen, you can get through it. And then I start ending each chapter with then step forward. So you get your information, you do your due diligence, you figure out what speaks to you and, what steps you want to take, and then you take that next step. And we just keep doing that over and over again until we get to where we need to be.
Wow. Yeah. And I said a little bit about sarcasm because I know you have like a great personality and so you probably added like a couple bad words like.
Oh, for like the sarcasm in the book?
Yeah.
Yes. So
you didn't
I didn't.
Or your thoughts or your approach. You were just you.
Yeah, I was. And there's something, it's funny because I'm often more silly than I am actually funny. Like I don't have a comedic timing and I'm a very literal person. So humor sometimes goes over my head, which is ridiculous. But I will say that, there are just sometimes you need to say the F word. And when I felt it was right, I said it in my book. And there are some times where I just was annoyed and frustrated by what I was going through. And I said it in the book. And I will admit that when I first wrote it, there were places I held back. And my amazing editor, Jessica Snyder, who is also a dear friend of mine, she pushed me. And over again in the book, she said, bullshit. I know. Sorry, I'm not sure if I could say that.
Oh, say it. Bullshit.
Okay.
I'll say it with you.
She's like, I know that this made you feel something a hell of a lot more than you're writing here. And she goes, tell us how you feel. And she would just again and again, she's like, no way. 'Cause she knows me. She's like, no way. There's more. Tell us how you felt. And so she really helped me because again, it's that silly thing that I think women do where it's like, I don't want to come across complaining. I don't want to look like, I'm feeling sorry for myself or whatever. And she's like, there are some times when it is okay to say this was a really bad situation. And so she really encouraged me, to be honest about that. And then, like you said, there were funny things like after the mastectomy, I had stitches all around. I was able to do nipple conserving. So I still have my own nipples, which a lot of women with mastectomies don't. So I had stitches around that. And then they came down and in the anchor because I was really chesty before. And so that's how they had to do it in order to reshape mine. Well, I had that done. And then they were also deflated. Like if you imagine an old beach ball that doesn't have a lot of air in it, because when they do the reconstruction, they put these tissue expanders in, and then each week you go in and they fill them a little bit more and more with saline. And then this allows the pocket that they're creating to expand without it being too painful. Well, I had stepped out of the shower, and at the same time, I'm on pain medications. You've had anesthesia that causes all sorts of things like constipation and bloating and a lot of other wonderful things. I stepped out. My kids just happened to come in because they're looking for me, and at this age, they're 7 and 8 now. And my daughter goes, Mom, no offense, but you look like the Bride of Frankenstein. And then my son comes up, pats my bloated lower belly and goes, are you going to have a baby? And I remember in that moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God you guys are so cute. Like I knew it's just there was no room to even be offended, but it was really hilarious to hear those things and acknowledging that I really was a mess, and it was okay. I was just coming out of things and going through it, but it's still funny. Just the kids and their observations. And so there's funny stuff in there too.
Yeah, that's important. Again, those little moments
Yes,
that really bring quality of life, sharing that with your children.
absolutely. And,
Yeah.
I tried to talk about my perspective, and then it was really important to me also to talk about my family's perspective, because I think that when somebody's going through an illness, it is really easy to be like, oh my gosh, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking, that's just the only thing that matters. But if you're part of a whole family, they're going through it too. And, as much as you feel like you're not, maybe not acting your normal way and don't feel like yourself, they also feel it too. So the whole entire, life that they had going is now also different. And as difficult as it might be when you're going through it, I really do think that, as we go through something difficult, we still have to consider those who are living with us and directly with us every day, and consider their feelings too, and have patience, and not just think that only what we think it matters just because we're the ones sick, because, who are sick. And there may be people who disagree with me. And like I said in my book, everybody has different perspectives, but I really do think that could have something to do, with some of the divorce rates too, because it's easy if we get lost in ourself and our own suffering, we, start ignoring the people who love us, how that can eventually have an effect. And that also goes to, go to therapy. Almost every cancer out there is going to have support groups and people you can go to, even if you don't have insurance. And I think sometimes it's easy for us to be like, oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I know I did that. And I talk about it in the book. And, I wasn't. And there were times when me not going and figuring that out and talking to people, my reactions were sometimes making my husband feel like I, wasn't considering him and I wasn't interested in him, when that wasn't the case at all. I just felt so alien to myself that I wasn't acting my normal way because I wasn't my normal way, and since he loves me and lives with me, it was easy for him to internalize that it was him. And so, that's one of those times when,
So many homes when individuals are going through these
yes,
really big, life-changing situations.
yes, absolutely. So yeah, I talk about all these things. In the reviews, there's people who say that I made them laugh and I made them cry. There's a couple things that might have made them mad, and I say that on the back, of the book too. But all of it is just to help give people some strength and perspective that breast cancer, any kind of illness, anything that's hard, you break it down into the moment you can bear. So don't look at the whole thing. That's, my husband always says you can't eat an elephant whole, one bite at a time. So try
No.
not, right? So don't look at the whole picture. You break it down to a day. And if a day is too hard, then an hour. And if that hour is too hard, then just the next moment, and keep taking those steps forward. Make it more manageable.
Yeah, it just goes a lot in so many communities, just trying to get through things, whether it's different types
Yes.
of trauma or different types of medical issues or diagnoses or disabilities. So you hear that over and over. It's very much an important component.
I agree. Absolutely.
I have to say hi to the chat. I feel like we've ignored the chat for
Yes.
a really long time, so I'm really sorry, chat. We were getting in some deep conversation. Juana came through. I don't know if she's still here. So Juana, I'm going to give you a shout out. Thank you for the bits. Thank you for the love. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's
Mary
awesome.
Through. Thank you for
Oh,
stopping by. So much for talking about this as mom's dealing with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. So
Matthew, all my best wishes, prayers, positive vibes, whatever helps you, sending them all to you and your mom.
yeah, and then Senor Posada, I haven't seen you in a minute, so welcome. I don't know, they're just saying hi to each other,
Yeah.
but it's again so important. I do want to talk about the romance books too. You
Oh,
are
sure.
a writer, and I'm sure this was like a really even though it might have been difficult, but it was still a break and a way for you
Yeah.
to release.
Well, funny enough, when I got diagnosed, it was also right around my first romance release from my publisher. So I got picked up in like the summer of 20. Now I'm like trying to remember all my times.
Yeah, I
You know, 2015. And so I'm like going through all the edits and talk books. I love it. Going through all the edits while I had was going through treatment. And I kept telling my publisher, I'm like, no matter what, I don't want my release date changed. I don't want anything changed. Because just like you said, I was using that work that I had to do and that creativity and everything to help get through. And you know, I write romance novels. And the reason I write romance novels is because I think there is so much heavy in this world, and there's no guarantee that it's going to work out, whatever the situation is. But with a romance, that's the promise. You can go through all these trials and tribulations, but at the end of the book, in a romance, the promise is that you have a happy ever after or a happy for now. So there's the two people in the book will end up together, you know, in the end. And so, you know, in my book, Love on the Cape, it's the first book of my Cape Van Buren series, and it touches on some heavy issues. The heroine lost her son to a road rage car accident. And so that, you know, had very touching, make you cry things throughout that book. And the hero, he dealt with child abuse as a child. And so they both had these really deep, difficult things they were carrying with them. But they had to come together in order for, you know, the big goal that they were working towards in the book, you know, to come out in the end. So it's not that it's all fluff either. So there's a lot of really great topics and heartfelt growth. But you know that in the end, you're going to get that happy ending. In the end, love is going to prevail because it gets to in a romance novel.
Okay, so then I want to know about that little quote, an emotional ride on heated sheets.
Yes.
Tagline.
So that's for MK Meredith promises an emotional ride on heated sheets. And what that is all of my books are very emotional. I touch on real heavy topics in my plot lines in the story. There's always a robust story that goes, whether it's breast cancer, the death of a loved one, abandonment, there's so many things. And again, the promise is that, you know, it's going to work out one way or another. And on heated sheets is because I do write steamy, and that intimacy in the book every time moves the relationship forward. It's moments of deep bonding and, you know, awareness of the other in kind of a new heightened way. So it's definitely needed and much part of the book. But I also am a huge believer of just owning your sexuality and being proud of it and loving it, and it just being a wonderful part of your life and not something that needs to be hidden away or whispered about. So, and in my books, I will tell you too, and this might just sound funny, but people have asked me, sometimes they use condoms and sometimes they don't. And I do that on purpose because none of us are perfect. And sometimes people get swept up in the moment and don't do what they would normally do if they really thought it out. And so while I am definitely wanting to promote safety for people, I also am exposing that we are flawed and, you know, that sometimes happens.
I have a question then. Is that something within the romance writing community that's kind of like discussed a lot? Controversial?
It's not discussed a lot.
Oh,
but
why you bring it up, but
yeah, it's not discussed a lot, but it's discussed. And I bring it up because people have asked me about it. A lot of times a lot of romances will forego the condoms because breaking into the story with the foil wrapper and putting it on or whatever, I think some people will feel it's taking out of the story. But I've always felt like I could naturally put it in there without it being an issue. So it's just a choice of the author, but it was just a purposeful choice I made because I wanted young people to read it and be like, oh yeah, we really need to be having, self-worth and being safe. But then also none of these stories are about anybody being perfect. And so there's not a perfect relationship. It's not a perfect heroine. It's not a perfect hero. They are all very flawed in different ways. And part of that too is when we get caught up and, don't always take precautions, when we'd like to think that we would. So it's just purposeful in my stories.
Wow.
Yeah.
I definitely got to pick up one of these. Do you have audiobooks?
Mine are not in audiobooks. No,
Just curious.
they might be down the road, but they're not right now.
That
Yeah.
would be kind of nice to hear, right?
Yeah, right. But they're in all, people's favorite retailers, whether you love Kobo, Amazon, Apple, and they're available digitally or print. And the same with Not Your Usual Boob. So, and then,
yeah, I know I have it on Amazon. I had shared the link.
Oh yeah.
In the post. But hey, that's an affiliate. But anybody can look you up on Amazon and
absolutely. Yep, under MK Meredith.
MK.
Yes.
So
I'll tell you a funny story why I chose MK Meredith is because Mary Karen is my first name. But my whole life, I'm 46, and my whole life, people have the hardest time remembering Karen. And they'll call me Mary Catherine, Mary Helen, Mary Beth. I, more times than you would think, get Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen as a joke. Like, oh, you're that Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen girl. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like both of them plus another two of them, they're very petite. But and people will always say, oh, Mary Karen's fine. Don't worry. I'll remember your name, Mary Catherine. And I'm like, oh. So I'll tell, I told my husband, I'm like, the only way people are going to find me on the bookshelf is if I simplify this, but still feel like it's me. So that's why I went with MK Meredith. And it's made it way easier. People remember MK more than the Karen. They always have good intentions, but I'm telling you, I will get Mary Kay, Mary Kate, everything but Mary Karen.
Well, very valid. I understand. I get it. Flawed characters are often the most relatable. That they are. You want characters that you can.
Yeah, I agree too. But one funny phenomenon. I have this one character in my book called Just a Little Camera Shy, and her name is Addie. And she is very flawed. And part of her big flaw is she was raised the youngest. And so everybody did everything for her. So, even where she's at in the book, her big character arc has to do with that maturity. And I got some flack on, the bad decisions she was making early on and, who would ever make those decisions. But the funny thing is some of the stuff she did, some of the things that like my friends have actually done. And so as much as we really do want flawed characters, I also think there's a part of us that judges it as well. And then sometimes have a problem with it. So it's really funny, but I love seeing people's reactions to the stories.
Wow. Good. I'm excited. I'm definitely gonna, if I had time to read more, I really would.
Oh,
I was a reader as a child. I would sink myself into
same.
books.
Time is hard to come by though. So I will tell you, I have books everywhere. I have them on my bedside table and have them in all my bathrooms.
There you go. Every second you can catch a page or two.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow. We're wrapping it up. We've got about 5 more minutes before we end the
hour. Wonderful. This has been wonderful.
It's been so fun. And I feel like we've talked about lots of serious things, and I'm glad we were able to make it to the books and the romance.
Yes.
About sexuality. I mean, body image, support, compassion, all the things, self-advocacy. It couldn't be any more rich of a conversation.
I've loved it.
Yes.
I agree.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to touch on that you feel like we didn't cover in these last couple minutes? You want to, in your notes, or any last final things that you feel we should address or go back to?
You know, I think I just would really love to tell everybody out there that you are worthy of care from yourself and from everybody else. And, you know, I know people have said it before, like if there was a certain situation and our internal thoughts tend to be so negative and so hard on ourselves, if we were talking to our best friend, to our son or daughter, to our brother or sister, and they came to us with that same situation, what would they say? And I really would love to challenge everyone to speak as kindly to themselves as they would to their best friend or child, because I think it would really take that kind of love to help us um, be able to grow and be stronger, and we deserve it. And so if we can't give it to ourselves, then it's like that losing battle when we try to fight for someone else to give it to us first. We should definitely be loving ourselves the most, and then use all of that strength and goodness and nutritiousness to then spread that love to everybody else. So I would really love everyone to try that.
It would be nice.
And I will tell you too, with my book, I've had other people outside of breast cancer read it, and it helped them find a lot of understanding. Just as one of your friends in the chat spoke about his mom, I had a dad message me saying that his wife was going through something really difficult. They didn't know she was going to make it. He read the book. It gave him incredible insight into her point of view. And then he was having their children, their two teenage daughters, and her read it so that she could help see where he was coming from and, the kid's point of view. So I think that if you're going through something hard, you'll probably find some nuggets in there that'll really help. And the whole point is for me to be a friend and to be someone who can be there for you. So I am on Facebook under MK Meredith. And anytime somebody has questions, I don't care what it's about. If you just need to feel like there's somebody else out there to vent to or to talk to, or you're worried about something, I may not know the answer. I might know someone that could help, or I could just be a listening ear. I am just saying I'm here for all of you.
Oh, yes. I like to also offer availability to individuals when they're going through things. That's how we share that we're there for others, and how we can really show that that we lead with that kindness, we lead with that support for others. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your story and coming in here and just sharing.
Inviting me.
Yeah, it's been great. Oh, we had Mark. Hi, Mark. Thanks for popping in. As always, is awesome, informative, inspiring. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. So I guess we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, my dear. Again, I appreciate it. We're gonna pop the outro.
Okay.
And to say our goodbyes. Let's see here.
If anyone wants to connect, just go to mkmeredith.com. All of my different places are on there, including, email, and I'm on Facebook. But this was such a pleasure. Thank you guys for sharing this time.
Yeah, LinkedIn is your preferred, or Facebook?
Facebook is my preferred. Yeah.
Okay. Facebook. We heard it. We got it. And I knew I threw it here before. So the MK.
I think so. Yeah, I think you have the link. Otherwise, if they search MK Meredith, it's me with a spoonful of peanut butter in my profile picture.
That's it, with the books in the back. All
Yep.
the covers. I love it.
Easy to find.
Did share it, so it's there for everyone. And I guess with that, we will say our goodbyes and thank you for watching, everyone.
Thanks, guys.